Angel did not almost forget the name of the show again. That's never happened to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Now you got me laughing.
So, after some soul searching and self-reflecting and just really centering myself, I have some exciting news. Old-fashioned, but that is okay because I am not afraid to get my hands dirty, you know? If I just keep thinking happy thoughts, and I keep putting this positivity out into the world, the universe is going to reward me with happiness. I think it's gonna work. I really do this time.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Voices from the Mausoleum. I am Mike and Serial, and today we have an awesome episode for you. It is a filmmaker spotlight interview for the brand new found footage Valentine's Day horror movie, Be My Valentine. We have the director, Stefanie Davis. Hi Stefanie, how are you?
Hey, good. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
We are so excited to have you on the channel. We got to see this movie in advance. It debuts on Valentine's Day on Found TV. So we got to see it. Spoiler alert, everybody, I had a great time with it. But before we get more into the movie, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about your journey into filmmaking, and especially how you got into the horror genre.
Yeah. I actually started more as an actor. I moved down to Tampa from Missouri in 2013. My family's down here because of the military. And I was like, oh, I just kind of want to take some acting classes and see how things are going. I was getting kind of frustrated about some of the characters I was seeing, you know, very one-dimensional female characters. Not everybody's always wanting you to take your top off or get naked. I'm like, that's not my thing. So I started making my own films and just learning by failing and having a great time doing it and learning so much along the way. I am a huge fan of horror films, specifically like slashers, found footage. Psychological thrillers are really fun, like Seven and Saw, things like that kind of get your mind going. I love those kind of films. So as I was just kind of going on my filmmaking journey, trying to tell stories from different perspectives. And last year, I'm like, man, I really want to do a found footage. And with Valentine's Day coming up and not a whole lot of things on the market for Valentine's Day, it's like, well,
yeah,
we could flip the script and just have a woman stalk a man instead of man stalking a woman and kind of see what people think of it and make something really fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I think that is something that I did say about this movie is I think the gender flip is really fun and exciting and fresh for these types of movies. I think it makes it so much more watchable as well because there is like she the lead character is very dynamic in personality, so I love watching her as she goes. But something you said, and it is very important because here on Voices from the Mausoleum, we are all about marginalized voices. We are all about people of color, queer people, women focused horror. We love advocating, and it's kind of our favorite genre is seeing ourselves in these projects. And you talked about what you saw in film in general, but also in horror uh, of how they treat women and how they
Mhm.
treat their women characters.
Yeah.
And you saw that and you decided you wanted to make a change, and I absolutely love that because you definitely see that in your film. Um, but if you want to talk just a little bit more about that as
Yeah.
well, because we do see, we'll talk specifically because we can talk about film in general,
Oh, yeah.
but we can talk specifically about horror and kind of the evolution in how they treat women, how they treated women. Even when we started getting that like final girl status, we
Yeah.
still had a lot of the let's take their tops off and then we're going to
Mhm.
murder them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of films that I'll watch anything, honestly, and it doesn't matter what the budget is or, if I see a premise that I really like, I'll start to watch it. But when it comes to gratuitous nudity, like boobs for the sake of boobs, it's like that kind of takes me out of it. Like there
Yeah.
has to be a reason for it, and some filmmakers do such a good job about it, especially in the psychological thriller state. Like a lot of it times it's used as a tool to manipulate somebody, or showing something particularly graphic for something that a killer is doing. Like there's reasons to have it, there's reasons not to. And it used to be when I was starting out as an actor, folks were like, well, I can't get distribution unless they see boobs. I'm like, well, that's sad. Like, I don't
Yeah.
like that. That's not the kind of stuff that I want to do. So kind of creating my own films and creating the narrative, like if I were to ever do anything with nudity, there has to be a reason for it to be there. It has to be important. It has to be something that drives the story or makes sure that it's something important to the character. And it's fine. Like there's plenty of films that folks can watch with that kind of gratuitous nudity. There's nothing wrong with it. You guys enjoy that. That's just not my bag. And so I like to kind of see what's missing in especially the horror genre because there's a lot of things that we tend to rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
So I always like to try to find like what's something that I want to see as a viewer because I have a different lens than some of my other colleagues or even other audience members. Like, is there something I feel that's missing? So I'm watching films like the Andy Baker tapes and to Jennifer, the To Jennifer series. And it's always a dude like just stalking a woman. And it's like, those are fine and dandy, but you keep finding these things like Andy Baker tapes, at least was a family member stalking another family member, which was really neat. But seeing something different like that, it was like, cool. How many and Be My Cat Anne is another really good one that I really enjoyed that it was along the same sense. So it's like, what's something that I can do that I feel like is in my kind of vision and something that I would enjoy that I feel is missing. And that's where kind of played around with the romantic aspect of Valentine's Day and using an actor like Samantha D'Alessio, who is absolutely brilliant. And she and I are good friends. We worked really well together, and I feel like we created something really unique and fun.
That is awesome. And honestly, there's so much that you said that made me so excited because I love how much you definitely are a found footage head because Andy Baker is such a great shout. I need more
Love
people to
it.
watch that movie. And I will say, we'll talk more about it when we discuss the movie uh, itself, but I love that you said to Jennifer because when I'm talking about this movie to the people that I've been talking to about it, I have been referencing to Jennifer consistently because I was like, this is such a good mirror version of that. It's not a shot for shot remake. Like it's not the same. But they have such a similar vibe. It's just very gender flipped in how you did it. And I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I think that was a great shout to give as well. And then we were going to definitely get into what kind of your inspiration for this movie was. And we did kind of hear a little bit about it. But if you kind of want to just go into that a little bit more, like how the concept came about, because and Angel and I both had certain questions about choices in this movie and themes that we kind of picked up on. But I definitely want to hear a little bit more of the inspiration behind this movie, and then kind of any filmmakers that inspire you particularly too. I want to hear what inspires you.
Absolutely. I love that also you have Mike and Cereal at the end, because I know you're going to know that I'm going to say Milk and Cereal is one of my favorite found footage films. I watched it like not too long before we started filming. I sent it immediately to Sam, and I'm like, Gina, is this unhinged? And she's like, noted. She said she watched it a couple times. She's like, I loved the character. I loved what Curry did. It was absolutely it's such a good film. It's a good runtime. It's a good time. Curry is really a really good filmmaker, and I really enjoyed the vision that he had. So that's definitely a big inspiration for this film.
Love that.
Yeah. We've been doing holiday films for a bit, mostly because there's ingrained marketing in that. So I've done a Thanksgiving movie, a Christmas movie, a New Year's movie. So I was like, well, if I'm going to do a Valentine's movie, it has to be horror. There's just too many love stories. There's too many, it's so saturated in that kind of market. I want to do something different. And because I love found footage, and because it is from a filmmaker perspective, it's less expensive. It's technically easier to make. It's like, okay, if I were to make a found footage, how would I do it? And so kind of the influencer angle of it all, with her talking to the audience, telling her story. It's a lot like, I compare it to scrapbooking, the way women do scrapbooking, or put together these, collages that we do of our vision boards. And so it's kind of Gina's vision board and scrapbook about her love story with Zach. And so she talks a lot to the camera. She's in control of the cell phone when she has the cell phone. When it's the stationary cameras, she's very polished and ready to go. And then, of course, at the end, we have the multiple angles that gets a little bit more chaotic. Yeah. But I definitely was just like, if I'm going to do a Valentine's movie, it's got to be something weird. And it's got to be something that is very different from other things that I've seen.
And I love that you did choose doing a Valentine's Day, not only horror movie, but specifically making it found footage. Because, again, found footage is my personal favorite subgenre of horror. And I like holiday horror to an extent, but I would love to see more of it in found footage.
Yeah.
And then especially like Valentine, I know we have love related found footage films. I think for me, this is one of the first ever Valentine's Day found footage films that I've seen where it's like that is the focal point.
Yeah, to my knowledge as well. But I mean, we didn't set to be like we're the one of the first of blah blah blah. But like, it's definitely one of, like, when we made a Thanksgiving drama, I'm like, there's not too many Thanksgiving movies out there. So we made a Thanksgiving movie, and then Eli Roth did his Thanksgiving slasher the same year. So it's like, great, people are going to be looking for Thanksgiving movies. We have the word Thanksgiving in our title, they'll find ours. So if they don't want a slasher, they'll see this family drama. With Valentine's Day, you have Heart Eyes. You have, I believe there's Be My Valentine. I think Eli Roth also has a Valentine's movie. I think he's also like in the holiday kind of thing. But there's some like really famous Valentine's horrors, and I'm hoping we'll just kind of slip in under the lists of that, and people will discover our little film.
I feel like you will. So far, anybody who has seen this that I know of, we all kind of have the same consensus about this movie, and especially for the specific market of found footage fans.
Mhm.
I think this is going to be such a fun and unique film to them. I think this is going to definitely get a cult following. I personally feel if I have to head it myself, it's happening.
I love it.
Um, but so we'll get into this movie. Be
Mhm.
My Valentine. It's following Gina and her love story with Zach,
Yes.
unbeknownst to Zach. Uh, and we'll just leave it there because I think that's we know that it's horror, so we know it's going to go off the wall. We mentioned similar movies, so I think it's enough to leave it at that for the synopsis. But we did state that this is kind of a gender flipped movie where the woman is the problem in this love obsessed scenario.
Yes.
And I do just have to say, make sure I get her name correctly. Samantha D'Alessio,
Yes. Mhm.
phenomenal job. And I think
Yes.
that's what's going to take this to the next level.
Mhm.
When you talk about movies like this, like Milk and Cereal, Curry
Mhm.
Barker,
Mhm.
like Creep, Mark Duplass, like
Yes.
they had to deliver a very over the top personality because it was very centered around them. This
Mhm.
movie is even more centered around Gina. Like, even Zach, who is the second most important character, is a background character at
Mhm.
best. So this is really all about her. And
Yes.
I just think she did a phenomenal job. You mentioned that she was a friend because I do always love to ask indie filmmakers, because when it does come to casting, did they already know beforehand? Because you do make a lot of friends and you use a lot of people that you already know in these types of movies. So
Mhm.
you did say she was a friend. Uh, did you always know that she was going to be your person, or how did casting go for anybody else? Because I think everybody did their parts perfectly.
Yeah, we did do a casting. So for the part of Zach, played by Mitchell Patrick Green, he did auditions. There were two guys that we were in the middle of, and it was just kind of boiled down to who was the most like doesn't know a stranger, very approachable, but like a cutie patootie that any girl would just be like, I want him. I love him. He's so sweet. And Mitchell has everything about that, from his voice to his mannerisms to the way that he performs. And he's also just a good human. And I've known him for a bit. So it was exciting to see his audition and be like, yeah, that's our Zach. For Gina, for Samantha, I've known her for a couple years now. And she's always been very sweet. We've gotten to know each other a little bit. I went to a showcase where she was doing two different scenes, and I specifically went to this actor's showcase to be like, I think I'm going to look at and see if I'm finding any cast members. And she did two scenes, one where she was very emotional and very like vulnerable, and the other one where she was a psychopath. I'm like, well, there's my Gina. Like there's no doubt about it. So I took her out to lunch and I was telling her about this concept, and I was like, what do you think? And she's like, oh, I'm so down for this. I'm like, all right, great. So she and I got to work and we created these backstories and all this different kind of lore with her that you don't see on camera, but it motivates all of her decisions. Like the reasons why she's doing certain things is because right before we're filming, we're like, okay, think about, your dad and your mom and all of these things, like what the last boyfriend did to you. And now you're moving in and seeing this situation happening. What is Gina going to do next? And she'll tell me, I'm like, great, let's play. And then she'll go right into it. It was mostly scripted, but at the very end, it was very improv. So Zach, or I keep saying Zach and Gina, but Sam and Mitch, they have a lot of improv experience and they work together quite a bit. So they already
Oh,
had good
okay.
chemistry.
Yeah, they
The
did.
girl who played the best friend, Amanda, she actually is a really good friend of Sam, and I didn't know that, but she submitted her audition, And she was just absolutely like, it was just haunting how wonderful her performance was. That character is very vulnerable and sad, and she did a great job. Bella, who plays the girl who gets picked up by the rideshare, she was just absolutely adorable. And it was a kind of a unanimous hands down to pick her. And a lot of the little parts are folks that either I've known or I've been wanting to kind of bring in a small setting and be like, okay, well, let's see how we work together now. And then in future projects, maybe there's a bigger role for you. So it was a good combination of folks that we've never worked with before and people that we have, or folks that I've known for a long time, love their work, and actually get to bring them into a role that they fit perfectly. And I'm really proud of the casting. I think everybody just really brought their A game. It was so fun.
Yeah, and honestly, now knowing that a little bit of background information on casting, it makes so much sense because you are correct. Everyone brought their A game. Immediate reaction for me after stopping the movie, after I was done watching it, my immediate reaction was no one else could have played Gina.
Yeah.
Like, no
Absolutely.
one could have. She did this. It was one of the best castings I've seen in such a long time. And then with everyone else, there was so much good chemistry. And now that explains it. Like, there was so much history amongst them because, yeah, the chemistry was so wild. But something that I know Angel definitely wanted to make sure we spoke about, and I did as well, because so not only do we have this gender flip scenario of stalking and obsession, we also, what we picked up on a little bit, for me, I wish we would have went just a little bit further into this, but we kind of get this glimpse when he's speaking to the police, when he's calling his mom. Everyone's slightly dismissive.
Oh, I love that you're saying this.
Everyone's slightly dismissive of the way or of his concern. And to me, they still were like the police still did their job. I don't think that they did it too bad, but I was like, and we always say this, it gets brought up, and a lot of the times it does get brought up in bad faith, but in this particular case, it is, would you act this way if he was the woman and she was the man?
Yep.
So there was a lot of, we're not taking him seriously of his concern of being stalked because he's a man.
Yes.
And I just kind of want to go through your process on throwing that in there, because I think it is a real thing. And it does become like, we do need to talk about that too. But obviously, we also do want to keep in perspective that while this does, and it is important that we do speak about it because it does happen to men. Men are victims too, but we do need to keep in mind that women go through this far more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we just need to keep that level head of perception. So I want to push that onto you and get your thoughts on why put that in there.
I love you and Angel so much for picking up on that, because that is something throughout the whole process we kept communicating, especially to Mitch when he was performing it. I was the voice of the officer who he was speaking to on 911. So for my day job, I work at a law enforcement agency. I transcribe interviews. I hear these interviews all the time. I've worked in records to where I've seen reports of this. Men do get stalked quite a bit. And majority of the time they don't report it, or it's too late and something really bad has happened. For this particular film, having Zach vocalize, like, I'm uncomfortable with things that are happening. You know that if he had a guy best friend that saw the photos that he received, they'd be like, this is a hot chick. Like, why? Like, this is a guy's dream. Why are you upset about this?
Yeah.
And where he's like, bro, frogs were at my door the day before. Like, this is not normal. And with mom, she even has a line in there where she said, if it was the other way around, I would be more concerned.
Yeah.
And so it is something that we wanted to make sure to convey, because every single part along the way for writing it, I kept asking myself, at what point is this not believable? Or at what point is it, well, he can just do this? So the casting choices in making sure that he's not this 6'10", giant football playing kind of dude, it wouldn't be believable for her to overpower him towards the end. But having somebody like Mitch who looks like, I will take your photo at a tourist stop and you don't have to worry about me taking off with your phone, like that's a thing. He's doing everything correctly, just like women do when they get stalked. He's, being a little aware of his surroundings, but not as much. And things like, his doorbell camera isn't on. So obviously he's not seeing anything on a camera. He's getting all these gifts, but he's not asking why am I getting this? What's happening? Who is doing this? It's just kind of keeps happening. These are kind of questions that I'm hoping that the audience is like, yeah, this is kind of weird for a dude, but my friend just had this happen. Oh shit, maybe I should check on her and like make sure that she's okay too. Like, I'm kind of hoping that folks will see it from the perspective of like what you and Angel did, where you're like, a guy is going through this and nobody's taking it seriously. Like, imagine if the roles were reversed and it was a woman having this happen to them. So I love that you guys picked up on that. And that makes me so happy, because that was a big goal of mine, to have folks kind of pick up on, well, we don't take this seriously for men, because they're like, well, you should be thankful. Like, that's a hot chick that's, fallen for you. Like, that's awesome. Not realizing that she's a psychopath.
And honestly, as I was watching, I was wondering how this was gonna go, because part of me was like, how's this gonna work? Especially when she was like sending the pictures, I'm like, he's probably just gonna like this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
And then I loved that he didn't, because then it does take on this topic, this theme that we were just discussing, and it's important. And I'm glad we got to have something like that in such a funny type way still, because this movie is there are some comedic elements to it. I did enjoy that, and I will say, I think horror comedy needs to be a certain way in order to land. But when you take movies that are so real, because this isn't about possession, there's no supernatural elements, no paranormal elements. This is real stuff that really happens. So it can get dark quick. And there's people who have experienced this who may not want to watch it from such a dark angle. So I like that she went a little like full-blown unhinged to make it a little bit uncomfortable yet comical. And I'm glad you said something too, or you brought it up, because your attention to detail did not go unnoticed. Because at first I was like, when I saw the Ring camera as she's like walking about, I'm like, well, did they miss this part? Like, there's a Ring camera there. And then it gets acknowledged of it not working. So any like little thing that I thought might be something, you had an answer for it. And I just really enjoy that in movies, especially when we talk about low budget indie movies. It could be easy to gloss over something. And the thing too is, Angel and I, we do give grace to indie horror projects, because you're not working with the multi-million-dollar budget that other movies are. So we'll let a lot of things go. But I love that I really didn't have to let anything go with this movie, because you covered it so well. And again, and I'll keep saying it, the actors did what they were supposed to do. So I truly believe you have a hit on your hands. I really enjoyed this, and I just want to know as well, if you're able to say anything, is there anything else on the horizon from you, especially if it's horror related?
I mean, there's always something going on. We kind of already started filming our next two features. It's one of those that once we have enough money, we can finish them. So we kind of made little proofs of concept for it. I work in every genre. I love every genre. My themes are always we're following a main central character, typically a woman, or if it's a man, it's for a topic that's not really covered with men, like vulnerability, body dysmorphia, things like that. So we are working on a kind of like a Lifetime crime thriller. It's called Last Seen Wearing. We filmed the police and hospital scenes last year, which were the most kind of like the most expensive and extravagant, to put together proof of concept to raise the rest of the funds to finish it. But it's about a man who fakes his own disappearance and kind of gets caught up in this web of his own lies. And there's a lot of twists and turns along the way. And we have some phenomenal actors who've been on Lifetime movies before. And it's just a fun concept. And then we also have a psychological thriller called Easter Egg Hunt, with fairies and a woman through her grief that's kind of caught into this web of like going into different fae worlds and getting kind of psychologically torn in order to join the fairies. And so it's two very, very different kind of things.
So you will definitely need to let us know when those become something and come out, because
Oh yeah.
Angel is obsessed with fae and fairies.
I love it.
So we will definitely want to dive into this movie.
It's fun.
So she's going to be, when she's watching this back, she's going to be so excited, because again, we love this movie, and now that you're talking fairies, you're going to become like her favorite person in the world. But yes, so viewers, again, Be My Valentine is going to be coming out on Valentine's Day, exclusively on Found TV. Angel and I will be releasing a spoiler-free review the day before, Friday the 13th, for Found Footage Fridays. So make sure that you watch that, and then definitely make sure that you are watching Be My Valentine. Make it a date night movie. It's the perfect one. But again, thank you so much, Stefanie, for joining us. We are so excited that we got to have you on and talk to you about this amazing movie, and we wish you the best of luck with everything else that you are doing.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to get onto Found TV. Hopefully we'll be #1 on Valentine's Day, so everybody make it your date night movie.
Yes, we will. And again, we'll be pushing this out, and we'll be letting everyone know to watch it on Saturday. So we will see that jump to the #1 spot.
Awesome.
Well, as always, viewers, I am Mike and Serial, and we hope that you have a great rest of your evening. And again, watch Be My Valentine, Valentine's Day on Found TV, and have a good one.